Good morning, and welcome back to the 5-day alignment workshop. I am so excited for today. I am so grateful to have you here joining in and taking part in this alignment event. My goal always when I do these workshops is to ensure that you are walking away with tangible, actionable, livable steps, right? Like, I think if you've attended a workshop of mine before, you know that I don't just come and spout off information. I want you to actually take what I teach and use it in your life to see improvements. So, that being said, if you watched yesterday's training and you took part the in the observation of your current reality and were open and willing to take 100% responsibility for what your current reality looks like and surrender to it, right? And just make peace with it because it is what it is and there's nothing we can do about the past, right? You can't change the past. You can only surrender to what is currently, and now that we know better, we can do better. So that's what I'm working on this week with you, is trying to give you the tools to know better so that you can do better moving forward. So welcome back to day 2. Today, we're talking about identifying the gaps in your consciousness between where you are now and where you're going. So, of course, if we're going to talk about comparing where we are now to where we're going, you have to have done the first step to surrendering to where you are currently. So if you haven't done that yet, that's fine. You're welcome to stay and hang out. But I do recommend that you go back and either rewatch the first training, watch it for the first time. Definitely make sure that you are taking notes in your workbook. You want to get that out right now and have it ready. You're going to want to take notes today, I promise you. And I hope that you are all taking the time to do the what Richard Dotz calls the magic formula for when you're learning a new method, you're learning a new technique, you're learning anything new. It's a really great way to summarize it and digest it in a way that you can actually take and implement. So if you do not have the workbook, I have emailed it out a couple of times now. If you do not have it, please comment workbook below and I will make sure you get the link after we are done live here. If you want the PDF version, I originally sent out a Canva link, which is fine, but I guess it's not allowing you to print. And if you are somebody who likes to print and have the physical copy, like I am, just comment PDF below and I will make sure that you get the PDF copy so that you can download it and print it and use it that way. Okay? So first, I just kind of want to overview yesterday. Like I said, we talked about surrendering to what is, and I asked you to really observe, what must I believe to be true for my reality to look the way that it does? Okay, so if you did that homework, quote unquote homework, I would love to hear really quickly in the comments here if you had any breakthroughs or key discoveries there. Like, what is something that you have discovered you must believe to be true somewhere for your reality to look the way that it does? And this is not meant to be a judgmental thing. This is purely an observation to get a handle on how you came to where you are right now. Right? And this is not even like a conscious belief. This is just like, well, I must believe XYZ for my reality to look the way that it does, because otherwise I wouldn't be in this reality, right? Part of this whole process to aligning to who you really are is taking full responsibility for where you are currently, right? And it does not mean to, put you down for having belief systems that don't support where you're going. Most of us don't. That's the whole thing, right? Most of us have most of us have belief systems that have been handed down from our parents or primary caregivers. They're programmed into our DNA from generations of ancestors being handed down. Like, you can't escape it. It's just part of what happens. And I will tell you, every day I wonder what I'm teaching and speaking about around my son, he's going to pick up, and it's going to cause him to have something that he needs to overcome later on, right? Like, all of us, we can only speak to and teach from and operate from our level of consciousness currently, right? You can't operate from a higher level of consciousness if you're not even like aware of what's going on, right? So I would just love to hear what kind of key takeaways you have. Yeah, here, Julie's sharing one here. That people won't believe me, and that who am I to want the life that I do? Very uncomfortable and so good, though. Am I good enough to lead and to live this life? Yeah, that is so, so true, right? when I was doing this practice myself, right? Because I've used this is the system that I've used too. That's why I know that it works. I uncovered that and I don't know if I said this. No, I said it to my one-on-one client. I had a lot of calls yesterday, so everything's kind of blending together. It was very busy. But through doing this work, I had a realization that I have a limiting belief. I've worked through it now, but have had a limiting belief around wanting to be seen. I had a realization that I want to be I want people to see me. I want to be looked at. I want to be known. But at the same time, do I want to be seen for who I really am? Right. And it was a weird hurdle to overcome. But I realized in discovering that that's something I need to overcome, because there's no way that I can make the impact that I want to make, which is like a global impact, if I'm afraid of being seen, right? That's something that you need to work through, which is why this work is so important. You need to identify the gaps. You need to identify your belief system currently that got you here, so that we can identify the gaps to where you want to go and all of these things. Okay. So, like I said, today we're talking about identifying gaps. And that is the gap between the desired reality that you're working towards and the reality that you're in right now. So the next thing that's really important is for you to get very clear on, who do you want to be? What do you want your life to be like? For most of you will know that I do a video series every Tuesday. It's called Aligned to the Truth Tuesday, which of course I'm not doing today because I'm doing this instead. But I did a whole live on paradigms. And I talked about how you get to decide what your desired reality looks like. You get to decide what your success looks like. You get to decide what your fame looks like. You get to decide all of these things, right? But are you living up to what you believe and desire right now? Or are you living on autopilot, kind of living a Groundhog Day situation, and you don't really know how to get a grasp on it, right? First, you need to get very clear on where you're going. I have found more often than not that most people, they have a very vague idea of what they want to create or where they're going, what their success looks like, what they want an ideal day in their life to look like. But if you only have a vague idea of where you're going and what you're trying to create, how do you know when you've made any progress towards it, right? Like, you need to have very clear, tangible, measurable, that there's that acronym, the SMART goals. What is it? Simple, measurable, attainable. I forget I don't know, whatever. But there's a whole acronym there where we need to be very clear on what we want. Like, what do you want? And you don't have to it doesn't have to be, your dream scenario necessarily. Like, you can do this a couple of ways. You could dream, like, this is what I do. This is the direction that I like to go. So if you want to mirror how I go about it, feel free to use this. So what I do is I'm looking at creating big goals, right? I look at my big, James Wedmore refers to it as a hairy, scary goal, like my big ultimate, what do I want my life to look like goal? What do I want my house to look like? What do I want my career to look like? How, all the things. And that's my big time goal. And then I work backwards from there. I dial it back and I have what I call stepping stone goals. Okay. And those are different goals and segments that I'm going to have to hit in order to get towards the big goal, because this is the problem. If you are only working towards your big ultimate goal, and I made this mistake, which is why I know, okay, I'm literally only ever speaking to you from experience, so please listen to what I'm saying. I was originally operating only in anticipation of my huge, big ultimate goal. Okay. Which, when I started this journey, and I shared yesterday that I was going about the whole process in the wrong way because I wasn't even doing the inner work. And you cannot manifest anything and hang on to it if you're not willing to do the inner work to align and calibrate to the thing. Okay. So I was only moving towards my big ultimate goal. But the problem with that is, in my subconscious, even in my conscious, I think a little bit, it was so big and so unattainable, quote unquote, at the time, that I almost didn't even bother. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, whatever. It's so far away. I've got so much time, right? I'm not going to bother. But the thing is, anything is possible in any amount of time. But if you have this huge goal that you feel on at least the subconscious level is unattainable, you're not going to move towards the thing as quickly and as swiftly and as effortlessly as you could, right? So what I started doing was actually dialing my goals all the way back to 90-day increments and even monthly increments, because I feel like ultimately, obviously, if you want to make, like, let's say you want your business to be 7 figures, right? Obviously, before you hit 7 figures, you have to hit 6 and 5 and 4 and even 3, right? For those of you who are brand new to business, or maybe you haven't even gone into business yet and you're still thinking about it. So if you have to hit all those little, you have to hit $1,000, how many times before you hit $100,000, and you've got to hit $100,000 so many times before you hit $1,000,000. Why not set those up as goals to work towards and celebrate incrementally, right? We set ourselves up for disaster when we're working towards only this big goal, because it's kind of like, I'm going to relate it to this woman I follow. Her name is Melanie Ann Layer. You can find her on Instagram at Alpha Femme. She's amazing. She says that, and she's talking about it in the context of working towards being the best at what you do instead of being one of the greats of what you do. But it's the same principle, because she says being the best, or in this example where I'm talking about, having a 7-figure business when you're just starting out, if you're shooting for that high mark right off the bat, you're setting yourself up for scarcity and failure, because not necessarily failure, like in the sense that you're going to fail, because you only actually fail if you give up, but in the sense that you're going to be down on yourself constantly, because up until you reach that 7-figure mark, up until you reach the point where you're the best at what you do, you're constantly not enough. You're constantly not doing enough. You're constantly losing out to yourself, right? So why not make it more aligned for yourself and dial the goal back? And I'm not saying don't have the big goal. Obviously, still have the big goal. I've still got the big goal, right? And I'm definitely working towards it. My husband and I are daydreaming about it all the time. But at the same time, I've got more quote unquote attainable goals in the meantime, because I need the smaller things to work towards. Trust me, I tried working towards only the biggest, highest, most important goal for me, only towards that, and it didn't get me anywhere. And again, I also was not doing the inner work to align with the thing. So that does make a difference. But through doing the inner work, I've discovered that what works better for me and most of my clients, actually, because I've been implementing this, is to work towards an incremental goal, one at a time, right? Work towards the 10K first, then work towards the 20, maybe the 30, maybe the 40, maybe the 80, right? Then go to 100, then maybe go to 120, 150, like just make it a game, because the whole I think you guys know by now, the whole process is the destination. That when, that cliche thing where they say the journey is the destination, that is actually true when you are doing the inner work properly and you are trying to align to who you really are. And ultimately, my overall goal for everybody, and literally what my mission is to empower other light workers and other healers to step up and shine their light and spread their ripple effect in whatever way that looks like for them, right? Maybe it's a small scale within your family unit. Maybe it's a medium scale within your state or even your country. Maybe it's a huge scale on a global basis, right? But I have a mission to have everybody living their purpose, because when you are living your purpose, you are in alignment with who you are and who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. And then when you are living your purpose and then you are in alignment because you're living your purpose, you then effortlessly manifest all the things, right? So you can see why people are going about manifestation the wrong way. So many people are going out there just talking about manifesting rituals this and doing it this way and, writing it 55 times for 5 days and, all the different things they're doing, affirmations stuff, which all work too. I'm not saying they don't work, but those are band-aid solutions, right? If you're trying to use affirmations to manifest something, it will still work, but it's not as effective as if you're using affirmations to reprogram your subconscious mind into believing that you are worthy of all the things that you want, so that you can align and calibrate to the frequency of those things, right? While you're pursuing your purpose. But what I'm saying is, skip all of that stuff, just figure out what your purpose is, right? And in that, you can figure out what your ideal day looks like. Who is your ideal self? Well, I would hazard to guess, if you're here and you're following me, it's because you are a light worker and or a healer. And you are trying to figure out whether you realize it or not. This is the other thing. You might not even realize that's what you're doing here, right? But ultimately, you are on a mission to uncovering your purpose for living, right? The purpose of life is to live with purpose. And for you to be living your purpose automatically puts you in alignment, right? Like I will tell you, I also, from experience, have suffered from bad anxiety, depression. Like I'm talking, I used to wake up and feel sick and almost faint and almost throw up every single morning on the way to work because I didn't want to go. It made me anxious, right? Not because of anything really going on. I just didn't want to be there. And I realize now all of that was only because I was out of alignment with who I really am, right? I am not supposed to be working as somebody's assistant. Like that is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So it is from my own experience and my experience watching my clients and, you know, my husband and my family members and other people I talk to now. And again, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I am very solid in my knowing that anxiety and depression and all of those kinds of things stem from a deep misalignment with who you are. And I'm telling you, I have not had anxiety in ages. Like it just doesn't happen anymore because I'm living my purpose, right? So therefore I'm in alignment. And therefore, what I'm manifesting as I'm manifesting it in increments comes to me very easily. Like it's not uncommon for my entire day to flow very easily. Like I'm not even going to go into examples. Like it is just so crazy. Okay. So let's go back to the topic here. So when we're trying to identify our ultimate self, our ideal self, I would hazard a guess that it includes you shining your light without giving a fuck what anybody says about it, because you are being authentically yourself. And that is the only way you're going to be able to do what you're here to do, is to shine your light authentically and without care for who has anything to say about it. Because I will tell you something. First of all, your people, the people that you are here to lead and shine your light for, cannot find you if you are not being yourself, right? Which is why imitation does not work, which is why sometimes other people's strategies that they say you must be using if you want to hit your goals does not work for you, because it's not in alignment with who you are, right? Because you are being forced to be somebody else. And I'll actually give you an example. It's funny. I wrote an email the other day and I was using a template that I've used before. And the first time I used it, it worked for me. But this time I used it. I wrote the whole email. It took me a while to write it. And I didn't, the whole time I was just like, this, I don't know. And I kept writing and I kept writing and I kept writing. And then later in the night, I was staying with my husband and I thought, no, that whole email, I don't like it at all. I gotta erase it and start again. And because I've outgrown that version of myself, right? And so that template does not work for me anymore, right? Because it didn't allow me to speak from my truth, right? So you have to show up as yourself. You have to. So I hope that the ideal version of yourself involves some form of moving into your authentic self and speaking your truth. Okay. And I will tell you one more thing. Anybody else who is also in alignment, who is also living their purpose, is going to do nothing but cheer you on. I mean, they may not say anything at all, but they will be cheering you on. It's only and what you're really concerned about is the people who are going to naysay and have something negative to say, right? But those people are not your people. Those people are not your people, and they will never be your people. Remember I said yesterday, people can only understand you from their level of consciousness, right? So the people who are going to have anything to say are the ones who are not ready for what you have anyway. And by singling themselves out and saying something to you and making it known that they don't agree with what you're saying, or they think it's whatever, too woo-woo, or whatever or you swear too much, or whatever the problem is, right? They've just done you a favor and removed themselves from your circle of people that you are here to serve, right? So now you can focus your attention even more closely on the people that you are here to serve. Okay. So when we're talking about your ideal reality, like I say, hopefully it involves, and if it didn't before, I'm sure it will tonight when you do your homework that I'm going to give you. Um, I hope that it involves finding your purpose, right? Because it's only in finding your purpose that you can live in true, full alignment. Okay. And I'm telling you, like last night, I was talking to my husband and I was all fired up. I had our final book club discussion yesterday. Then I was here with you guys from 10 to 11. Then we had Merica on at 12. And then I had a one-on-one call at 1. And the day was busy. I was very tired at the end of yesterday, but I spent the entire day living my purpose. And I was fired right the fuck up yesterday night. And I said to my husband, I was like, this is what I want for everybody. This is what I want for everybody. I want everybody to understand that if you can live in your purpose, you will live in alignment and everything else sorts itself out. The money comes, right? The love comes. All the things you want come. And on the flip side of that, I'm telling you also from experience from clients and from my own, it does not matter how much money you have, you're making, whatever. If you are not living your purpose and if you are not living in alignment, it is not the same. And I can tell you also on the flip side of that, if you are living your purpose and therefore in alignment, you can feel absolutely unstoppable and incredible before you have the money. You could literally have 25 cents in your account. If you are living your purpose and you are living in alignment, nothing else matters because you know that the current circumstance is like a hangover from previous you. You know what I mean? Like it's just residual old you hanging around in your current reality. Okay? Because think about this too. We have momentum behind our beliefs and our desires and our current ways of being, right? So if you've been being this way for your entire life up until today or yesterday or last week or whatever, obviously there's a little bit of momentum behind your limiting beliefs that are going to continue to show up in your reality for a little while, right? But how you know you've made a difference is when you react differently to the same circumstances, right? I have been in a situation with no money and totally out of alignment, and it sucked. Okay. It sucked. I went into scarcity mode. I had to go back to work. It was not good. Okay. And then I will very openly admit that we relived a residual pattern because I had not fully transmuted all the things. Okay. And we went back into a situation where we were back to not enough money, right? After I left my job again. So now the only money we have coming in is the money I make through my business, right? But the difference is because the second time I was living my purpose, I'm in alignment. I know what the fuck is going on now. Like I see as it was happening, I'm like, okay, obviously this is residual Danielle still hanging around. I haven't transmuted whatever this last little thing is, right? So I saw it as a learning and a growth opportunity instead of oh shit, I need to go find another job, right? Totally different. So this is how you know when you've made the progress is when you start to react and show up differently for the same things, right? Because unfortunately, sometimes you will relive old patterns when you have not fully learned the lesson. You have not fully incorporated whatever it is that you're supposed to move forward with. And for us light workers, we are going to continue to be shown what we need to work on until we work on it so that we can then empower others to do the same. And I want you guys to know that when you are called to be a light worker or a healer, you are going to have generally a higher number of struggles than the regular person does because each of those things that you go through are part of your purpose, right? They're part of the light that you're supposed to shine. They're part of the way that you're supposed to relate to people and help them through. Okay. And if you're here right now, maybe even if you don't identify as a light worker, right? And maybe you're saying like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't really feel like it fits me. I'm telling you, well, okay, let me just, and let you in a little secret, first of all. When I do these workshops, this one specifically, I said to the universe, I am going to speak directly to the higher selves of the women who need what I'm talking about, who need to hear what I have. Please align me and align them with me and have them come to the workshop and have them either be live or see the replays or take part in some capacity so that they can take what they need and go out and shine their light and start living their purpose. Okay. So even if you don't think that that applies to you right now, if you are here, sorry to tell you, it applies to you because I called you here. Okay. So if you are thinking right now, I don't know, I don't really feel like I identify as a light worker or healer, I'm going to tell you right now, you have been through at least one circumstance or struggle. You've overcome something in your life that you are meant to help other people overcome too. And that, my friend, makes you a light worker and it makes you a healer. Okay. Because we go through these things to speak on them. I can tell you 1000%, and I actually know this because it was confirmed in a birth chart reading I had, but I know for a fact that one of the reason I have had so many financial hiccups is because I am meant to empower other women financially. But I can't do it if I haven't had the experience of being in the, the ebbs and the flows of finances, right? Because who is going to listen to somebody who's only ever had money? I cannot, that's one of the reasons why the light workers are put in the situations they're put in, because nobody is going to listen to you if they don't feel like they can relate to you. You know what I mean? Like, I can't sit here and preach about something I've never been involved in, I've never experienced. I can't sit here and talk to you about living your purpose and living in alignment and living in a fulfilled, life and relationship and whatever, if I have not been there myself. You're going to see right through it and you're not going to listen to what I have to say. Right? So you are here for a reason. You have been through something that you can help other people through. And if you're not sure what that is, this is like a side tangent. I didn't really mean to go into this today, but if you're not sure what that is, think about what are some of the things I have been through in my life that I could definitely help make somebody else's experience with it easier or faster or more streamlined, right? Because I'm telling you, one of the reasons that mentorship and coaching, the industry has gone so big is because people are realizing I don't need to reinvent the wheel myself. I can just hire somebody to work with me to speed it up. Right? Like, you can figure all this stuff out on your own. Like, if you are meant to uncover your purpose and live in alignment and all that thing, it will eventually happen no matter what. But if you know you're meant to live in alignment and live your purpose, and that's inevitable anyway, wouldn't you rather have like a fast pass to get there? Wouldn't you rather me be able to hand you the shortcut map that nobody knows about? You know what I mean? You can go the long way. That's fine, but it's much easier to get help. And that's what I want to empower you to really consider when you're moving forward, is what have you been through that you can create a roadmap to hand somebody to make their path through this experience, this struggle, this whatever, easier. Right? What have you been through that you wish you had help through? Or when you were going through the thing, what do you wish somebody had said to you? That's a really good place to start for uncovering what you're supposed to be doing. Or, on a flip side, what are you passionate about? Like, what are you passionate about? I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she's been kind of going down this one path with her business. And it turned out that her zone of genius is actually way over here. You know what I mean? She's been kind of playing it safe doing this because she wasn't sure how to get here. And I thought, well, that's easy. You know what I mean? We talked about it, but her real, she's over here doing this. And then it bridged into, okay, well, I'm actually really passionate about self-love because, and I agree with this, you cannot be in alignment and you cannot live your purpose if you do not love yourself, right? You have to love yourself enough and love where you are, that you want to help other people love themselves that much and get to where you are. right? And then we dove into it a little bit further, and it turned out that it's actually not even just self-love, it's about self-love and, in the shape of conscious parenting, because if you don't love yourself, there's no way you can show up as the best possible parent you can be, because you're not even in line with who you really are. You know what I mean? So we dialed it all the way down to her, and then she was just like lit right up. Right? So what are you passionate about? What have you had this like very undeniable thought about doing, or something you've always been drawn to, right? Like, I have always been a teacher. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, but then I didn't really actually want to be like an actual teacher. But then, like, when I was in daycare, we would get back to daycare from school, and then I would, okay, guys, we're gonna do school, and my friends were like, what? No, like, we were just at school for 6 hours. I don't want to do it again. But I'm like, no, I want to teach you. And my sister would make her whatever. So get very clear on what you think you're here to do by examining what you've been through, what you're passionate about. Another way you can do it is, what do people always seem to come to you for advice around? Or if you were to go to the grocery store, what are you confident that you know more than the majority of the people in there about, right? Like, obviously, if I go to the grocery store, I am 1000% confident I know more about manifesting, alignment, and living in your purpose than probably 85, 90, 95% of the people in the grocery store. Right? So that's a really good place to start. But so what does it look like when you're living that ideal reality and you're living in your purpose and you're living in alignment? What does that look like? Because you get to decide. Okay. And I really would, if you guys don't really know much about paradigms, I suggest that you go back and find my Align to the Truth Tuesday about paradigms, where I talk about, your current paradigm versus your ideal paradigm, and you get to decide what that looks like. You get to decide. Right? So you need the clarity around your ideal life and your ideal version of yourself. Okay. And then when you have an idea of who this person is, like, who are you becoming? Who are you stepping into? What are her belief systems? What must she believe to be true for her life to look the way it does? Right? Write that down. What must my ideal version of myself believe to be true for her life to look the way that it does? Right? And then examine all of that. And you'll be surprised at how many of the beliefs that she has you do not have yet. And that's not a bad thing. It just means now we've identified some gaps, right? Now we know what we need to work on. Okay. So now that we have an idea of where we're going and the glaring gaps in our consciousness, right? We need to start becoming aware in every moment of all the beliefs that do not align with where we're going, right? Because one of the key aspects of becoming the person that you are becoming is to embody her, right? So, Julie, what must my ideal version of myself, or her, you can just say, what must she believe to be true for her reality to look the way that it does? It's basically, we're taking the question from yesterday, what must I believe to be true for my current reality to look the way that it does? And we're projecting it into the future. What must my ideal self believe to be true for her reality to look the way that it does? Like, obviously, she knows she's supported by the universe, right? She knows she's safe to live in her purpose. She knows that she has the power to create her own reality, right? Like obviously, these are things that apply to everybody living in their power, right? Everybody who's fulfilling their purpose feels these ways, right? Supported by the universe, knows she's unstoppable, knows that she's helping the people that she's meant to help, right? And the more authentic you can be to who you are, the easier it will be for the people you need to work with you to find you. Just be yourself. That is the only marketing advice you're ever going to need. Be yourself. You don't need another fucking strategy. I mean, yeah, obviously there are tips and tricks and ways you can launch things and all this stuff, right? But literally any method will work if you use it properly and you set the intentions, right? That's all you need to know. Be yourself and your clients will find you. And the people you're meant to help will find you. The people who need to read your book will find it, right? So it does come down to real-time awareness, right? So once you've identified what the gap is, you know what your ideal self believes to be true. So now this is the real work here. And this is the part that I help my clients with because it's an ever evolving, rotating door, okay? In real time, identifying your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings that are and are not aligned with where you're going and who you're becoming. Right? So one of the first things I want you to start doing is becoming very aware of the emotions that you feel. We spend so much of our life suppressing and ignoring emotions. And that's a lot of what the shit is under your rug. You've brushed it under there for so long, right? I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel less than. I don't want to feel not good enough. So I'm just going to brush it under the rug instead of fucking looking at it, questioning it, and realizing that that's not even true. You know what I mean? You have to be questioning your beliefs every single second. So I want you to start observing how you think and feel and react in every situation. And this is like I said, this is an ongoing process. And this is what I'm helping my clients with all the time, as I have to constantly call them out on their shit. And that's what they're there for. And if you guys want to be called out on your shit, then I suggest you come and join me, because I constantly am helping them identify what Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap, refers to as upper limit behaviors and upper limit problems, right? In other words, how we self-sabotage ourselves. You're welcome, America. How we self-sabotage ourselves, right? Because when you are committed to living your purpose, any reason you're not doing it is just total bullshit. Okay? So one of the ways you can start to get closer to aligning with your purpose and living there and fully like expanding to the fullest extent of who you are, right? Because life is about expansion. Life is about taking up the space that you're meant to take up, right? So many of us are contracted into our, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want anybody to think that I'm, trying to take their clients or this or that, or what people are going to think. Like, fuck that. Okay. Take up the space you're meant to take up. Okay. And live your purpose. Because I'm telling you, you can have a very happy life living in your, Gay Hendricks calls it the zone of excellence, right? Which is where my client yesterday, she's kind of living in her zone of excellence. She's very, very, very good at what she does in her career and starting in her business. But is she in her zone of genius? No, because her zone of genius is over here. You guys need to read The Big Leap, honestly. And we did just wrap up our book club, but I am going to make the replays available. And I really recommend that you make sure that you, when I finally release it, that you take advantage of it and watch the replays and read the book, and it's going to change your life. But anyway, if you stay living just where you're good, right? You will still have a happy life. Absolutely. But is it as good as when you're living in your zone of genius and living your purpose and fully aligned to who you're supposed to be? No, that is the best. Like I think you guys can feel right now that I am like fired right up, right? Because this is my zone of genius, is teaching on this stuff and empowering you guys to do the same. Okay. And I'm telling you, you will never be as happy as you are when you are in your zone of genius, living your purpose and going for it. Okay. But you have to be willing to look at the gaps constantly in your day-to-day life. And you have to develop a in the moment awareness of the limiting beliefs. So whenever you feel yourself contracting back into your space, why am I doing that? What am I afraid of? Right? Because it's fear, it's ego, it's guilt, it's all these things, right? Like, and in the book too, he talks about there's hidden barriers to success. So there's all kinds, like fear of leaving people behind, I'm fundamentally flawed. Something's wrong with me. So there's no way that I can be that good. That is so common with people who put their mentors and whatever on a pedestal. They're just people too. The only difference is they got out of their own way and they started living authentically and they started shining their light, right? That's the only difference. And then one of the hidden barriers that I've realized that I'm, guilty of, suffer from. I don't really know what the term is, but anyway, the fear of outshining, right? When I was a kid, my sister, she needed extra attention. She needed extra time. She needed extra attention. She needed extra resources and all the things. And because I was smart and self-sufficient and all that stuff, and a couple years older, my parents spent more time and attention on her. And I remember one very distinct situation where we were doing swimming lessons. And my sister just could not pass this one level. And I had already gone past her one level because our swimming instructor was doing split levels or whatever, right? And she just could not get past this level. So my mom finally said to me, you know what? Kelsey doesn't want to do lessons without you. So I'm just going to hold you back until she passes this, until she gets to where you are, and then you guys can go back again. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's fine. Makes sense. Whatever. But in that moment, that solidified. And of course, because I remember it like vividly, I can literally picture the conversation. I can see, it's like I can go right back there. So it obviously became part of my blueprint, right? Now I don't want to outshine my sister. I can't go too far ahead. Got to wait for her. Right? But as an adult, our paths are totally different, right? Like I can't continue to keep myself small because I'm worried about if I'm going to hurt her feelings. And more so, it's like Gay Hendricks in the book Big Leap explains that like, it's not even about really hurting the siblings' feelings. It's about looking at the parent and seeing them be a little bit upset because they feel bad for the other kid who's not going to do as well. You know what I mean? So it was like, I can't continue to live like this. You know what I mean? But if you don't identify these things, how can you work through them? How can you transmute them? How can you change your belief system if you don't even know what you believe? So you have to get very good at identifying the gaps and in real-time awareness. So first, like I said, become aware of your emotions. When you feel anger or guilt or resentment or judgment or stress or sadness or whatever come up, let it be there. And a really great resource for this is a book called The Greatest Secret, also by Rhonda Byrne. It was written in 2020. I also have a book club for that. And that's actually, I can make that available pretty quickly. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. But she talks in that book about letting your emotions be there. We spend so much time resisting our emotions that we don't take the time to just love them and dissolve them. Because I'm telling you, my clients and I have been doing this for some time now, noticing, accepting, loving, welcoming the emotions, and it just dissolves and goes away. It's so incredible. And then you have more space for other emotions, other good feelings, right? Because you only have so much capacity to hold on to stuff. And if you don't let the emotion come through and pass, right? Let it come in, welcome it, dissolve it, and let it go. If you don't do that, you've suppressed it. And you can only have so much room in yourself. So like one thing that happens to me before I started doing this, and it's unfortunately still happens a little bit, and I'm working on it, is my husband knows when I've been suppressing too much and I'm not talking about what I need to talk about, because one little thing, I'll just like freak out. And he's like, okay, this is obviously not about what this is about. Like, what is the problem? What have you not been saying to me that you obviously need to voice? And it's not that I don't want to tell him, it's that I don't think to make the space. Right? Something I'm getting much better at. But obviously, it's been 30 some years since I've been doing the way that I've been doing it. So it takes a little bit of time to undo. So be easy with yourself as well. But I'm telling you, as you learn to observe your emotions and let them be, and as you learn to observe your upper limiting behaviors or your self-sabotaging, right? Anytime you catch yourself making an excuse as to why something didn't get done or why you didn't hit the goal you wanted to hit or whatever, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Because if you were fully dedicated to living in your purpose and being in alignment, even if you didn't hit your goal, you would know that that's because you have a learning opportunity there to tweak something, to look deeper into your mindset, maybe to tweak something in your strategy, whatever. But it becomes down to the energetics of it, right? So observing the gaps. And so one really good way to do this is in any moment, anything you think, anything you believe to be true, question everything. Start questioning every single thing. Okay? Is this actually true? Who told me this? Right? A lot of the time, we're actually walking around with beliefs and personas and all kinds of stuff that we don't even actually identify with. Okay, like for me, for example, I will give you a personal example again. So when I was growing up, my mom always would say that I didn't like to be in the spotlight. I don't like to be the center of attention. And when my husband was preparing to propose to me, he told my mom he had this whole elaborate idea to propose in Disneyland. And he had called ahead and arranged to have a caricaturist start to draw. I'm looking at the picture right now. Start to draw the picture of him actually proposing to me. And then they had it all set up and they had like a, shh, don't spoil the surprise. So I'm just sitting there having my picture drawn. Like I have no idea I'm about to be proposed to. People are watching. There was one lady, actually, I've got a picture of her. She very obviously sat down to get her caricature done because she wanted to watch the engagement. She wanted to watch the proposal. That was the only reason why she decided to, sorry, I gotta mute my phone. The only reason why she decided to sit down and get a caricature was because she wanted to watch the proposal. Anyway, he tells her this whole idea and she's like, I don't think she's going to like that. She doesn't like to be the center of attention. And he was like, and we'd only been together for a year at this point, and he was like, I think I know her a little better than that. I think it'll be okay. And obviously it was excellent. And I love telling the story and it was fantastic. But it's funny because even now, when I'm questioning my limiting beliefs around being well known and being seen and being, out in the ether of the internet and, anybody can uncover me and anybody can learn and anybody can come work with me and I can empower people. I'm still wearing the persona of not wanting to be in the center of attention. But in reality, I love being the center of attention because I was thinking about it and I thought, well, wait a minute. I don't have to necessarily attract like bad press, paparazzi and all that stuff that comes along with, celebrity style fame. Like I'm not, whatever. But I was thinking, like Tony Robbins, for example, when he does his live events, he's sitting in a room with thousands of people who are just like hanging on every word he says, right? And I'm just like, man, that would be freaking amazing to be standing on stage knowing that literally everybody in the stands, in the seats, not only wants to hear what I have to say, but paid, a nice investment. In Tony Robbins' case, he charges like $6,000 for like a weekend thing, right? To hear me talk. Like, I would love that. And then I was talking to my husband about it last night and he's like, yeah, I know. Like, obviously you love being the center of attention. And I said, yeah, I do. And I'm a Leo, right? So, and I'm a manifester by human design and just all the things. Like I love to be the center of attention. And so it was just funny that I realized I still have been carrying around this persona that was put on me as a kid that does not apply to me anymore. But because I've never taken the time to question it, it lives. But the minute you break down something and question it as a truth, it loses steam as a belief, right? And the more you question it, the more it breaks down and the less impact it has over your life. And this is science. This is not like woo-woo BS. This is science. Like your brain has something called neural pathways, okay? And the neural pathways are strengthened every time you reinforce a belief or a truth or whatever. It strengthens the neural pathway and it becomes part of how you operate. But the minute you stop giving attention and stop reinforcing it, it dwindles. Okay. And then so instead you build up another neural pathway that says, yeah, I can do it. I do like to be the center of attention. I love to be the center of attention. I love to serve the world. You're strengthening this and you're minimizing this one. So now you're operating from a different belief system, right? That's your new paradigm. Okay. So observing all of these things. Okay. And please, 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 as you're observing, as you're going through your day-to-day life going forward, when you're observing your limiting beliefs, when you're observing your upper limits, when you observe, and some of it is in hindsight, right? Because hindsight is 2020, you're going to see, oh my God, I totally sabotaged that whole thing. Like if you guys saw, I did a live a few weeks ago about boundaries, and I realized that I have been unintentionally sabotaging my relationship with my husband, literally for like 12 years. And thankfully he hung on and he knew better and he loves me so much that he let it, we work through it or whatever. But I have unintentionally been sabotaging because it's an upper limit. Like how can who am I to have everything? You know what I mean? And because I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I have literally manifested my fairy tale outcome with my husband. Okay. I told my mom when I was 5, I was going to marry him. Our parents used to work together and they work together again now, actually, because they have company takeovers and stuff. Doesn't matter. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, sabotaging. So I realized that an upper limit behavior that I have been exhibiting is sabotaging my relationship because I can't possibly have everything. I can't possibly have the life and the relationship and the amazing kid and the, great hair, not joking. And, all the things, right? But why not? But why not? Because society tells us that it can't be that easy. Society tells us that we can't have everything. Society says, the collective consciousness says it doesn't get to be that good. There has to be some struggle. There has to be some upheaval. It can't just be good all the time. But yes, it can, yes, it can. And that's why I want to empower all of you to live in your purpose, discover what your purpose is and live there. Because by discovering your purpose and living in alignment, you can have good all the time, right? But we have to identify the gaps first. So, like I say, be easy with yourself, okay? It's going to be a learning curve when you start to identify these limiting beliefs and you start to uncover this stuff and you start to go, oh my God, like, that's awful. I said to my husband one day, I was like, oh my God, I have been horrible to you constantly. So I'm so sorry. Thank you for sticking with me anyway. Thank you for seeing the bigger picture better than I could, because I probably would have divorced me a long time ago. You know what I mean? And that's just part of the process, right? It's just part of the process. So be easy with yourself. And if you're ever thinking, oh my God, I'm such a mess, you're not a mess. You're a work in progress. Okay. And like I said yesterday, we can only do as well as we understand, right? We can only understand ourselves from whatever level of consciousness we're at. We can only meet ourselves from as deep as we're willing to look, which is why the inner work is so, so important. Because even if you're afraid of what you might find, it's not going to do you any good to not know it all. Like, you need to know what's going on so that you can change it. Because you cannot like I said, how are you going to know if you've made any progress if you don't even know where you're starting from? Right? And in day 5, we're going to talk about recognizing and appreciating when you're in alignment. And part of that is recognizing when you have reacted to a scenario or a situation or a pattern or something that you've dealt with before in a different way. But you don't know if you've dealt with it a different way if you haven't examined how you've previously been dealing with it. Are you following me? So question everything, right? Is this actually true? Is this belief I have actually true? Am I actually this person? Do I actually even like this kind of food? Do I actually even like this kind of movie? Is pink actually my favorite color? Yes, it is. Do I actually like this kind of music? Do I actually not like this kind of music? If you've been told, if you listened to a country song one time, like years ago, and you didn't like it, and then since then you've been painted as somebody who doesn't like country music, do you still not like country music, or do you actually like it now? People evolve and change. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were even yesterday or even an hour ago. Like, you have full permission to change from the person you were 52 minutes ago when we started this live stream to now. You have full permission to be a different person. And my hope is that you're going to leave these 5 days as a different person. That's the whole goal, right? So question everything. Is this actually true? Who told me this? Do I want to believe this? Or what would I rather believe? What supports where I'm going, right? And then in the day-to-day actions, when you recognize that you're in a belief system or you're repeating a pattern or whatever that doesn't support where you're going, you say, oh, no, this is not what I want to believe. I would rather believe this, and I'm going to go on believing this. And I said in another live stream, and I'm going to say it here because it's so good and I want you guys to start doing this. Once you identify, yesterday we identified where we are. Today we're going to identify where we're going. Okay. And then going forward, I want you to start questioning when you are reacting to something. I want you to ask yourself, new or old? Am I going to react as new me, who's embodying the version of the direction I'm going, my ideal self? Am I going to react the way she would react? Or am I going to react in my old, typical, mediocre, Groundhog Day way of being? Right? So new or old. And you might even want to program some alarms into your phone so that you can check in periodically throughout the day. Just have it go off at, 11 or 1 or 2 or whatever. It just says new or old. And you can just check in with yourself at that moment when you see that alarm go off. Right now, am I living from a place of alignment with where I'm going? Or am I repeating some kind of old pattern I don't want to live by anymore? Okay, because like I said, for you to fully live in your purpose and be okay with living in your purpose and, getting closer and closer to being in full alignment, you have to embody that version of yourself. You have to start showing up as her now. You have to start realizing that you have to shift how you believe the world to be first for it to be reflected to you in your reality. Because think what I'm saying to you, right? What must I believe to be true for my reality to look the way that it does? If you continue believing what you're believing without questioning it or changing it or trying to work towards what your ideal self believes, you're going to continue to have the same reality over and over again, right? Because you haven't changed anything. So you have to become aware of the things in the moment and question, new or old. Am I making progress today or am I staying where I am? Okay. So that concludes today. I hope you guys loved it. I really encourage you to do all of the, quote unquote homework exercises I gave you. If you need to go back and listen to it again, I highly encourage you to do that. I hope that you've been taking notes. I hope you've been taking lots of notes. And I want to invite you to come back here in about 2.5 hours at 1:20 Pacific Standard Time, which is 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. I'm having another one of my clients, Pam, come in to share her experience with being inside Alignment U and working with me. She's actually been with me since January, but she kind of just dipped her toe in January and did a 90-day scripting program with me. And then she up-leveled a little bit and decided to dip her toe in Consistency Kickstart when we had that in June. And then from there, she decided to up-level again and jump all into Alignment U because she was ready and willing to do the things and see the changes. And it's been magic from day one. And I can't wait to have her on to share her story with you guys. So please, I would love it if you would come back, like I said, in about 2.5 hours, 1:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The replay will obviously be available for you later on if you can't make it. But I hope you do tune into that as well. And I hope you've really enjoyed today. And I cannot wait to see you back here for tomorrow, where we're going to talk about, let me just make sure I'm looking at 2 different papers right now. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Combating your ego and your critical mind. Okay. So we're basically going to go a little bit deeper into what we were talking about today, because I know that limiting beliefs and paradigms and all the things can be a bit of a fuck show. So I want to go into it a little bit deeper with you tomorrow, and I look forward to it. So I will see you back here in a couple of hours for my discussion with Pam, and then I'll see you back here again in the morning for day 3. Okay? You guys have an awesome rest of your day. I will see you later.